katirriru qovirusuutiqartuanik iñugnik iñulla ikayuutiksramik piqallaaruq allagiinin iñuusinin aglaan sivunrat atiruq qaangiqsitaaurraakkaqtugut aasin taamna ilingu avittuallasigikput
So hello again. My name is Gloria O'Neill, and I serve as President and CEO of Cook Inlet Tribal Council. Cook Inlet Tribal Council is a tribal nonprofit organization located in Anchorage, Alaska. CITC's mission is to connect Alaska Native people to their potential. And we do that through various investment opportunities. Several years ago, my board of directors asked me to think outside the box, asked me to be bold and creative, and figuring out a way where we could raise money to support our mission so that we were not so dependent on the federal and state government, where we, as Native people, could determine our own destiny and create programs that we can invest in that would help our people advance. So as we started on this journey, I said, okay, we are a tribal nonprofit organization, and you want me to make money for our mission, what do we invest in? We looked at everything from traditional real estate to funeral homes. And when we started asking ourselves the big, bold questions of how can we be progressive as an organization, how can we use technology to stretch ourselves? How can we connect with not only our youth, but youth around the world? And we paired that with an understanding of what our gift is as Alaska Native people. That is our rich culture, our stories. And so when we brought those elements together, I said, why not a video game? Well, of course, I knew nothing about the video gaming industry, and we needed to partner with an expert who not only understood the industry at a deep level and had great experience, but an expert whose values aligned with CITC's, and an expert who was pushing the field, was pioneering new space in the industry. One of my senior staff found Alan with Eline Media, and she called him. And they had a great conversation. She came back to me, she says, I think we found our partner. And I said, well, if they're willing to come to Alaska in January, I'm willing to have a conversation with them. So they showed up, I want to say the 5th or 6th of January, and that started a dialogue, and it started the partnership for Never Alone. We had an initial conversation and started to do a deep dive about the industry, and Alan said to us, are you sure you really want to make this investment? The video gaming industry is risky and it's messy. So what we decided to do was do our diligence. We took several months where we did a landscape analysis, where we looked at our challenges, or the challenges in the industry, and opportunities. And through that process, we found out that to date, at least in the United States, there had not been an investment of significance by Indigenous people in the industry. And I said, that's the space we want. So we then formalized our partnership a little over 2 years ago to start work on Never Alone. And I'd like to introduce to you our partner, Alan Gershenfeld.
Thanks, Gloria. So this is a little bit about Eline Media and a little bit on my background. I actually started in the game industry in 1992 at Activision when it was about a dozen people, and started as the head of creative affairs, became the head of production, and the head of their studios. So I've worked on a lot of AAA games. Then was chairman of a nonprofit called Games for Change that seeks to rise the sector of games that can really empower people. And we founded Eline Media to really partner with great partners to do games both in the consumer and education space that really can engage, educate, and empower folks in a really competitive way using the best practices of the game industry and the real wisdom of all of our great partners. We do a variety of stuff. One of the more interesting things that we do is we actually run a national game design competition for youth that was announced by President Obama at the White House. We're in our 4th year running it with Sesame Workshop. We've actually had 6 of our winners meet the president and show their games. I think we have one of the first pictures of a sitting US president playing a video game, and it's one of the youth games, which is very exciting. So we do a lot of interesting projects. When we got the call from the Cook Inlet Tribal Council, it was funny. I was talking to my partner about, can we go to Alaska in January? And it's very cold in January. And he got very excited because he had been to 49 states but had never been to Alaska and was on his bucket list. And so for a lot of different reasons, we said we really should go there. But most importantly, the call that we got was really interesting when they talked about what they wanted to do in terms of sustainability, in terms of sharing their culture with the world. We got very, very excited. So we flew up to Alaska, and as Gloria mentioned, initially we really did try to talk them out of it, or at least really talk about the risk, because I've seen hundreds of game companies come and go. Game design, game development, game publishing is very risky. But the leadership team at the Cook Inlet Tribal Council was really inspired when they said, let's really look closely. Let's really do this landscape and opportunity analysis. And we looked closely at how indigenous cultures were represented in other media, in movies like Whale Rider, world music, comics, but there was nothing in games, and yet there was this rise of great independent games, Limbo, Journey, Minecraft. The more we looked at it, the more we realized there really was an opportunity here. But the agreement that we made from the very beginning was that everything would be done inclusively. So both Gloria and the Cook Inlet Tribal Council and me and our staff really built a team from the ground up to do this together.
As Alan said, we made our initial agreement that we would work together, meaning my staff would have to immerse themselves in the video gaming industry, and the Eline development team would need to immerse themselves in Inupiaq culture. So it was not only an alignment of values, but within the team itself, we had shared responsibility, we had shared power to make all decisions. And that's how we've run this process. So as we built the team, you could see some faces up here. We have Amy Ferdine, who's on my staff, who's a Inupiaq, and she served as a lead cultural ambassador, where she connected to and worked with many people in the Inupiaq community. We have had elders involved in this process, young people, storytellers, writers. You're going to meet Ishmael Hope in a few minutes, who is the lead Inupiaq writer for the project. And then you could see members of the Eline team. And it was fabulous when we did this immersion process, and we have some pictures here where our team went to Barrow. And they went to Barrow several times. I don't know how many of you know where Barrow, Alaska is, but it's literally the top of the world. And then let's talk about Sean Vesey, and we'll show you a little bit more about the process.
So as Gloria mentioned, she put together this remarkable team of Alaska Native writers. You're going to meet Ishmael, elders, storytellers. And on the development side, a key thing that moved the project forward is Sean Vesey came on board. I worked with Sean in the early years of Activision. I don't know how many of you go back this far, but he was the designer on Pitfall, The Mayan Adventure, MechWarrior 2. He was creative director on Interstate 76. We have a few nods here. And then he actually went and ran the Crystal Ido Studios and ran the Tomb Raider franchise. So had worked on a lot of big AAA games. He handpicked a team of folks that were really passionate about this idea of sharing and celebrating and extending culture, but had also deep experience in the game industry. The art director, Dima Verikova, was Russian and actually studied traditional indigenous art, but worked on SOCOM for many years. Our lead engineer worked at id Software on a lot of their big titles, so it was a very experienced team, and he brought really talented young folks in from DigiPen, which is a game development school up in Seattle where our studio is. And we had them work very closely with the team that Gloria put together in this inclusive development process, which Gloria will walk you through. And we'll show you some pictures as she does that.
So this is officially the sign of the top of the world. And a reflection of our time together in Barrow. It was really important for us to engage the community in every strategic decision. We would ask for feedback from the community. So we had a process in how we would engage people. It took a little bit more time than it traditionally does in a development process, but it was so well worth it, because once the game is released, and hopefully most of you play it, you'll see and feel and engage in the rich experience that the community has helped us develop.
So this is, yeah, you can just, that's Sean on the left and Dima, the art director, on the right. And you just get, as an outsider seeing Barrow for the first time, it's overwhelming. I mean, the sounds, the sights, the language. And they spent a lot of time up there just taking it in and seeing if they could somehow capture that, just that incredible beauty and just how fascinating it is in a game. And hopefully when you go down and see it, you'll see how they pushed the technology as much as they could, the design, to try to capture this incredible landscape.
As Alan mentioned, Dima studied the light of the Arctic, studied the snow patterns, the ice, and that's all reflected in the experience. So one of my favorite pictures that we've captured in this whole process is our lead designer and developer, Sean Vesey, is with Minnie Gray, an Inupiaq elder, who, as Ishmael says, is a very famous storyteller in her own right. Minnie Gray is the daughter of Robert Cleveland. Ishmael's going to talk a little bit about the frame of the story that we used in the game. We worked with Minnie to, in a respectful way, to acquire the rights for the story, and that was an amazing process in itself. I've been asked many times as I've talked with press and others about the project, the question I often get asked is, what did your elders think about this? The use of video games as a way and a tool to tell your stories. And what's been amazing is our elders understand it. They understand that we live in a modern world and an evolving world, and they were very open to this idea. So what I love about this picture is Minnie Gray holding the controllers and playing the game.
You know, a lot of people feel like video games and digital media in general have disconnected youth and young adults from their heritage, from their culture, from their elders. When you look at the content that tends to be in games, we believe, why not take this incredibly powerful medium and use it in an inspiring, playful way to reconnect with cultures and heritages and languages around the world, but also your own culture, heritage, and language. So we really do see this as start of a World Games movement with that kind of mission and vision. So I think a little bit about the game. It's a two-player cooperative. Those who've played downstairs have seen it. It's really fun to play this together. And as you can play it single player and seamlessly switch between the fox and the girl, or you can play it two players. It'll be PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC at launch. It's going to launch November 18th. We're going to be doing a bunch more platforms. You'll hear some announcements in the not-too-distant future about the other platforms we're going to be doing. And the game design, the team really tried to get the themes of interdependence. The fact that the girl, Nuna, and Fox have to solve puzzles together. You can't finish this game without the two characters who have different capabilities to solve the puzzle. It's a puzzle platformer game, so it has a natural, like a lot of platform games, linear arc. And Ishmael will talk a little bit about the spine of the story that inspired it, as well as other themes and motifs that run through it. Another very interesting thing about the genre is you get unlocks and achievements. In this game, we've actually shot 40 hours of footage of interviews with elders, with storytellers, with artists from the Alaska Native culture, and we've distilled about 4 minutes, about 24 short documentaries that you unlock that provide more context for what you're experiencing in the game, and then the rest of the footage we're going to have on a website for those who really want to go deeper. So with that, I'm going to cue another short video that we did, which is one of the elders that we worked with, Ron Brower, You'll see him in our studio in Seattle, and you'll get a vibe for kind of what the studio feels like, and you'll hear in his voice what it meant to him as an elder working on the project. So if we can cue the video number 3.
Making the video game will be a very important tool, especially in our community where our younger generation are into Xbox. That would be a great way of transferring some of our historic knowledge to the younger generation, because they're hearing bits of our story, bits of the culture that's been passed down to my generation, but that has not bridged over to the younger Xbox generation. I think this would give them an insight as to the way Inuit think. We think quite differently because of our isolation and the kind of beliefs and self-sufficiency that we develop. I think is important. How to be independent and how to think outside of the box kind of a thing, and how to be innovative. If it can do that, then it will have done its job as a video game.
So before we go to questions, I'd like Ishmael Hope to join me on stage, and I've asked Ishmael to share briefly his experience being the lead Inupiaq writer for the project.
Great. Thanks, Gloria. Uvanga atinga Onguluk, Kagwask yu khatuasok. My Inupiaq name is Onguluk, my Tlingit name is Kagwask. And I just wanted to have a chance to share that. I think all old storytelling traditions are timeless and universal. And they're best told when they come directly from the people and places that they come from. And as Alan and Gloria demonstrated, that's exactly what we did. It's of the people. It's not inspired or adapted or co-opted or appropriated from the people. It's directly from the people. And to me, that's not just doing the right thing, doing the ethically responsible thing. That's making a better video game, a richer video game, coming up with ideas and having an elder's voice that would be impossible to capture if you didn't have that kind of deep relationship. And that's part of the responsibility I had, is to, along with CITC, along with the team, is to help create that conduit to that elder's voice. And we worked with Robert Cleveland Nasruk. He was one of the absolute master storytellers. I can't speak, it's just impossible to speak too highly of him. And as you saw, that beautiful, sweet picture of Minnie Gray, his daughter, is also a master storyteller. And so we worked with one of his stories, Kunuk Sayuka, about an endless blizzard that the main character needs to figure out how to resolve, and sees and recognizes the life and the animation of everything around us, including even this blizzard, and trying to get that blizzard to stop. And also along the way, so many of the magical, beautiful things and themes that come up in our stories, like the little people that people even today out there in Alaska, they still believe in and they've even seen. And the northern lights that swoop down and want to take your head away. There are some things like that come up. The manslayer, our main bad character that recurs in so many stories, that they need to overcome to free the village. We put some of those things in. We tried to have directly the elder's voice. And when I had an opportunity to write, I tried to write directly from that world. So, thanks so much.
Great. Questions?
Absolutely.
I'll just jump on. Sorry, if we do have a question, can we bring the microphone here so people can? Yeah, you got it. Okay. If you come and stand by the microphone and then ask your question, they'll be able to hear you on Twitch as well. So fire away.
Quite a simple question, actually. If there's an opportunity to play it downstairs, I was going to ask you where that is.
Yeah, we're in 2 booths. We're in the Rezzed booth, and we're in the Virgin Future of Games booth. And definitely encourage you to play it.
Thank you.
That was an easy question. Also encourage you to go to www.neveralonegame.com. We're putting more and more videos on the site. We've started a developer blog. So there's some good background there as well.
Hi there.
Hi.
Sorry, closer. So you were saying before when you were looking for things to invest in as part of the CITC, that this was outside the box thinking. So if this is successful for you guys, is that the direction you want to go with the organization? Will you continue doing video games? Will you go into comics, film, that kind of thing?
That's a great question. We believe in this so much so, and as a result of our work with E-Line, that over the last month or so, we closed a financial transaction, which means that we merged our gaming assets with E-Line, and now we've become a consolidated management team. And that's how strongly Cook-Inlet Tribal Council, along with E-Line, feels about this world game movement. We are committed to it.
Do you have time? Can I do another one?
Absolutely.
When you were talking about the spirits and the blizzard and all the things that you come up against in the world, is the idea that Nuna and the Fox are against one malevolent force, or is it a story of them fighting against nature?
It'd be more ambivalent, I'd say. It's not necessarily a story of man versus nature or man versus other man. It's a story of recognizing that everything is alive around us. Those spirits can be helping spirits, and people who are very in tune with the world around them may see those spirits. It's all around us. Everything is alive. And then there are some stories, such as the Manslayer, where that's clearly a kind of bad or evil thing. But most often, the spirits and the life around us can be ambivalent or even benevolent.
Great. Thank you.
Just to follow up on that, one of the main themes that we've embedded in the game is this value of interdependence. And that's been very important to us in our process. And as Native people, to survive in such a harsh climate for 10,000 years, we needed one another. We needed to rely on the environment. And I think interdependence is it's very important to understand and know in today's modern world. And so part of this gameplay is really engaging players to know that at times there are many helpers in the world around us. Sometimes we just have to open our eyes.
And it's interesting, the very essence of our partnership is interdependence. It would have been impossible for either of us to have made this game separately. Mm-hmm. So we became so interdependent, we merged our organizations. So it is, that theme came up almost every day in our 2-year journey together. And on another answer to your question in terms of where this goes, it's interesting. When we first put that trailer up, both the Cook-Inlet Tribal Council and E-Line have been approached by cultures all over the world saying, can we do this with our culture? Can we do this with our language? It even happened today on the floor with some of the folks that interviewed us. And it's a really interesting question. The answer is, of course, yes, but it's not simple. You really need to do this in an inclusive way. You need groups of game developers. We need cultures that are ready to go on a journey together and see where it takes you. So we are hopeful to do more cultures, and we're thinking through how and when and what process we want to do it, but we're going to do it inclusively.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hello, I'm an archaeologist and I study video games and the representation of heritage and archaeology in them. So I basically wanted to say thank you for doing something which for the last 3 years I've been putting my heart and soul into telling people is important. And in terms of going forwards, will there be any documentation about the process and the sort of pitfalls and potentials that you see with it made available for people like myself?
Absolutely. we want to share everything we're doing in terms of process. And it really is a process. You know, people talk about specific decisions that were made in terms of aligning the video game mechanics with the culture. There's no one decision. We spent a lot of time on the process. How do we make the decisions together? In some ways, we had a very formal green light process, the way you would do at a game publisher, but everybody had a voice at that process, and there were some really tough issues where we had to go back to the community and really understand their perspective, and all of this was documented. A lot of it was documented on video. We're going to document it in writing, and we are going to share this with the community.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for studying. Any other questions?
No, all right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That's it for EGX for day one for the developer sessions. For the people on Twitch and for you guys, if you're not here tomorrow, we start again tomorrow at 12 noon UK time, not American time, with another packed day of sessions, including things like Division until dawn. We've got a Let's Play live in the morning, loads and loads of stuff. So join us then. But for the rest of you, hope you had a nice day here and come back tomorrow. Come back the whole weekend. So thank you.